Hi, I'm Nikki, the obsessive bookseller. Welcome to the first episode of my A to Z challenge. This is a spin-off of my monthly Read, Burn, Hoard challenge. The goals of both projects are incredibly similar. Essentially, I'm trying to read through my physical collection. In Read, Burn, Hoard, I take one shelf and focus on it for the entire month and pay a careful evaluation to every single book on the shelf. This series is more long-term focused, where I'm focusing on a single shelf for the entire year, committing to reading a chapter a day to see how far I can get before the year is out. I started it, first of all, because it sounded like fun, but there's something incredibly cathartic about starting at one end of a bookshelf and reading your way through and creating a whole as you go. And also, I have so many random books in the collection that I may as well start at the beginning alphabetically. I'll link my introduction video if you missed it. The first book on the lineup was Smoke Thief by Shanna Abe, first book in the Drakon series, and it's marketed as a fantasy romance, and I can totally see why. Before I get into that, let me show you my progress thing. I've got this little tracker here. So as you can see, I checked off reading a chapter a day in each one, and I made it 7 chapters in at about 120 pages, which is about 35% of the book. That's pretty good progress. I'm not expecting to check all the boxes every day, but that is the goal. The goal is to have 365 chapters read by the end of the year. I found myself getting to the end of a chapter and being tempted to continue reading, but I don't want burnout on this project, and so the fact that I still want to keep going when I'm finished reading is motivation for me to pick it up the next day. I am committed to being very methodical with this. So yes, stats for the first week, absolutely superb. At this rate, I'll have the book done by about the 3rd update. The atmosphere is very romance booky. However, there is not really a spark between the main characters at this point. It's a very odd structure. These are essentially dragon shifters, and they kind of have a possessive nature towards their mates. And basically, one half of this equation does not have any interest in being mate to the other half. And so it's kind of this weird dynamic where it's not really romancy feeling. I know it's headed that direction, but I really need the author to show me how a character can go from not wanting anything to do with this person to being in love with them. Because it's a romance book, I'm assuming that's where it's going. It could surprise me. But right now I am seeing no compelling reasons why this person is a good choice, and I need the author to convince me. I need the story to show me those small moments that kind of add up into something that could be love. Because right now it's just kind of weird. The Smoke Thief aspect is more like a setup. It's not really the focus of the book. So I was expecting something where, you know, you go along with this dragon in smoke or essence form as they wreak havoc among the nobility and steal all the precious gems. And that has made an appearance, but that's more of kind of like the background story to what is now turning into a developing romance, or hopefully will be. Now, I'm not normally one for romance novels, especially ones that have a fantasy component. I much prefer new adult stuff, but I'm sticking with it and I'm enjoying the basic writing style, and this one is getting the benefit of the doubt to this young adult trilogy that I devoured a few years ago. It starts with The Sweetest Dark, and it takes place in the same world as The Smoke Thief, and it's kind of funny. She traditionally published these two and then lost her deal, I think probably because of lack of sales, but then self-published the final book in the series, and I'm so glad she did. This is one of the single most lovely things I've ever read. I absolutely loved it. If you like dragon shifters, boarding schools, very proper atmosphere, like, this is excellent. Such beautiful writing, and it kind of introduced me to this world, and I'm pretty sure Smoke Thief is getting the benefit from me having read this other series and seeing what she can do with her stories. It's very lovely. So at the moment, I am going to continue reading this one for the next week, and then I will evaluate at the end of that week to see, if it's something I want to continue with, or if I want to burn the series and move on to the next one on the shelf. Speaking of, let's take a look at the shelf now. Here we have what is being read. I do have an update for the shelf, so I recently did a book haul, and in that I brought home 2 more books in the Wake of the Dragon trilogy, or series rather. I don't actually know if it's 2 books. So I need to modify the shelf and bring in 2 more titles. Ta-da! And so I will be committing to reading all 3 of those books when I get to that point. I had already picked these up before I started this project, but I have to say, this will help me out quite a bit because I probably wouldn't have bought those until I made it to this one. So it's going to kind of curb my buying a little bit, at least for the first little bit of the alphabet. If you're an author and your last name starts with a Z, I think you're safe in me buying your books as often as I want. Admittedly, it's not the strongest start to immediately put more books in than I'm removing, but I don't foresee myself adding anymore, so we can just start chipping away at this front end. That's it for this week. I'm going into week 2 with a ton of momentum and excitement for the project, so we'll see what I can get done. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.